I can hit the switch when it's playoff time.
Yeah, we've been gorging. We've been gorging on football for days. Sunday was supposed to not be as much of a feast as it turned out to be. We have expletives. We have shocking results. We have Bill Barnwell, Domonique.
We also have Spencer.
And
some
Spencer Hall.
college stuff later.
Also
Domonique mentioned me. Domonique immediately just starts to get me off the trail. Get rid of Barnwell.
I wanted the people to know
the tension in this locker room has been simmering for weeks.
Sweet potatoes, but we also got some carrot
cake. Are you calling me your sweet potato, Domonique Foxworth?
You're damn right.
I like it. So there we go. I'm back in.
Alabaster, check out those yams, man. I mean, come on. Undeniable.
Undeniable. You know who else is undeniable? Mike White and the Jets. And we should start there. Is it clear to you that the Jets should be starting Mike White for the rest of the season?
Domonique is already rolling his eyes, Bill. You could not be more over the Mike White revolution.
I'm not over the White Mike revolution. White Mike is a fine quarterback. They played the Bears. I'm sorry to rain on people's parade. I'm sure that this has been pointed out that Zach Wilson had a game against the Patriots, who I think by analytics, the best defense in, I think by EPA, the best defense in football at that point. Pretty tough. Mike White went up against the Bears, who Eddie Jackson, very good safety. But they had one play that felt like it was a microcosm of the Bears season where Eddie Jackson is sitting on the turf holding his injured foot while Garrett Wilson runs for a touchdown. And Eddie is just like, believe it, we're done. And like, I get it. But yeah, so I'm sorry. I don't want to be a parade rainer. Yes, let's do a parade for Mike White and the Jets. But let's just make sure it's on the side streets. This ain't a Main Street parade. I don't want to mess up New York City traffic for this parade. That's all I'm saying.
Don't run over Eddie Jackson sitting on the concrete with your parade, is what you're saying. Now, I know normally on this show, I'm supposed to be the voice of reason. I'm with two lunatics who are just going to say the most nonsensical stuff possible. Of course, Mike White should be starting for the New York Jets from here on out. I think the point about defensive quality is valid, but remember, Mike White only got benched last year because he had a 4-interception game against who? The Buffalo Bills. Before that, he had a great game against the Bengals, who, by the way, made it to the Super Bowl at the end of this season. Why is Mike White's leash a week long, but Zach Wilson's leash was like 2.5 months long before they finally benched him?
Oh, no, I agree. I also like that we always say his full name. That's nice. I like Mike White. I don't know. I prefer the comma and switch it over, go with White Mike, personally. But, yeah, I mean, I think this is the answer to this question is obvious. Yeah, I think there's no argument there. I'm just preemptively cooling off the Mike White parade.
But Dominic, you know who is not chilling out? You know who is dry as hell as they're cheerleading this parade? Everybody in that locker room, Dominique. The subtweets after the game. Not only did he complete passes to like 10 different receivers, he made the defense feel better about themselves. Certainly Garrett Wilson feeling a lot better about themselves. The crowd, to pluralize them, yes, chanting Mike White by the end of this, which is just his full name as contractually obligated. I mean, look, yes, is it the lowest bar imaginable to be better than a guy who couldn't throw for 80 yards and threw his entire team under the bus, basically? Sure. But man, it must have felt good.
Like, this is tough, man. The whole stadium and the most populated American city, the media mecca of the world,
they didn't
his backup's name just a few quarters after he was the starter, just a couple seasons after he was the #1 pick.
They didn't even let him dress, Bill. Zach Wilson stood on the sideline, didn't even have a jersey.
They gave that man a raincoat. They said, Parker boy. They gave him a Parker.
Pablo, I need to give you the floor here because I know you had a very rough afternoon. Moments before the Bears-Jets game, there were reports that Nathan Peterman was expected to play. That Bears starting quarterback Trevor Siemian had injured his oblique and was not going to be able to play. You emotionally and mentally prepared yourself for an emergency Peterman start. And then it turned out Trevor Siemian was okay to play. Nathan Peterman did not suit up Pablo. How are you feeling this evening?
You know, it's like when like they tried to
buckle up, everybody.
They tried to roll the rock away from where Lazarus was, but he was still there. And I'm like, I thought he was back. The Peterman was supposed to be back, but he was just there. He was still in his tomb. That was
when you said roll the rock away, I thought you meant Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and I was confused. I didn't remember him in that story.
Honestly, the Rock should put him in the XFL. Like, that's a good idea.
That's a good point.
Can we talk about the Bengals, please?
Yeah, let's move on to the Bengals. A happy story because we're only allowed to make fun of people for 1 week. Let's move on.
Good.
We feel bad for Nathan Peterman, and we feel bad for Zach Wilson. So let's talk about the Bengals.
I don't feel bad for Nathan Peterman.
Yeah,
I don't feel bad for Nathan Peterman. I just was bored of it. And I was protecting Pablo from offending people by saying Nathan Peterman is Jesus.
Okay,
that's all.
That's fair. Do you think the Bengals are good enough to get to the Super Bowl again?
Speaking of heresy.
No,
really? Okay, Domonique hits us with a yes, like half question in.
They're better than they were last year, in my view. I mean, at their best, they are better than they were last year. And when Chase gets back, if he is, I mean, some version of himself, can build himself up to the best level, I think that they're better than they were last year. The AFC is worse than it was last year, at least based on how teams are playing right now. So yeah, why not? They can beat the Chiefs. That's the big question is, can you beat the Chiefs? They're a team that has beaten the Chiefs. I would not bet on them to beat the Chiefs, but saying that they're not a contender in the AFC seems like a hell of a stretch.
Are they the best team in their division, let alone the conference?
Were they last year?
They did win the division last year, so yeah, they were pretty much by definition the best team in the division.
I mean,
were they last year? Do you think they were the best team in the division last year?
Yes, because Lamar got hurt. The Browns had Baker Mayfield, and the Steelers had Ben Roethlisberger. So yes,
you win.
But that said, I have a late breaking update. Lamar Jackson just lost to the Jaguars, so maybe update your standings. Yeah,
Lamar Jackson did just spend his post-game celebration murdering people on Twitter for suggesting that he does not deserve a significant contract. This is Bengals conversation, Alabaster. I don't know why you're stopping us, but please.
That's exactly. I do want to ask about the Bengals. You look at this team, and they probably have the third best quarterback in the NFL. They've had what looks like maybe the season from hell so far with injuries to Mixon, Higgins, Chase at various points, appendicitis for Joe Burrow. If they're healthy at the right time, shouldn't we take them seriously as a team that can beat anyone?
We do. We do take them seriously. I mean, maybe Bill doesn't, but the rest of us take them seriously.
Isn't the opposite true, though? I mean, they did not play well in this game. They beat Tennessee, which, hey, tough team to beat, but wasn't like this was some dominant performance where they threw the ball for 450 yards and they looked unstoppable. Like, they squeaked by Tennessee in this game. They were not playing dominant football. I'm concerned about the health. I think it's a legit thing. I mean, Jamar Chase, we don't know that he's going to come back at 100% or not re-aggravate that injury. Joe Mixon is out with a concussion. Chidobe Awuzie, their star cornerback, is out for the year. Their best cornerback right now, Domonique, is a guy by the name of Eli Apple.
Speaking of a guy, great.
He was their best quarterback last year.
No, Awuzie was their best cornerback last year.
Fair.
Can you make it through the postseason with Eli Apple as your best outside cornerback against Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes? That's a different conversation than we had last year.
It may be challenging, but I guess I would say, rather than against Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, against Stephon Diggs and I guess Kadarius Toney. I mean, Stephon Diggs could be a problem. They do have a good pass rush, which means they can dedicate some more resources to to helping double and cover those players. I guess what it comes down to me is, can I envision a scenario where they can beat those two, either one or both of those top two teams? Right now, when I look at both of those teams, they seem like they are beatable. And I guess, and with the capability of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in their defense, yeah, the corners is an issue, but the pass rush is pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
I would consider them a contender. A favorite? No. But a contender? Yes. I mean, the Bills just pretty much lost to the Lions, which, I mean, they didn't, but pretty much did. I mean, they got outplayed by the Lions. It's just that Superman decided to Superman at the end.
They got that PML column filling up with pretty much losses.
Yeah. Oh, you keep a PLM column too? It's not just me.
You know what though?
Life is nothing but PMLs, guys.
I mean, I guess the Bengals had pretty much lost on Sunday themselves.
Yeah, and they pretty much lost to the Chiefs in the playoffs last year. And
all right, fine. You want to say they're not contenders? All right,
no,
whatever. Not contenders.
Here's what I want to say.
Throw them out. Print it.
They beat. No. They beat Tennessee. Now,
print it.
Chiefs, Bucks, Patriots, Bills, Ravens. You win 3-4 of those games, I'm with you. They go 2-3, I'm out.
I mean, but then it's goodness. It just feels like at that point you haven't projected anything.
Well, here's the good
If
news.
they win those
Here's
games,
the good
then
news.
we all know.
The good news is that they play the Chiefs next Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll find out how to keep this interminable argument that has been expertly asked by Alabaster going.
Good ass, Alabaster.
It was a good question.
Tonight.
It was a good question.
And we honored it by talking about the Bengals the entire time without any interruptions.
Definitely.
Guess what's next?
Let's talk about the other team in the AFC North. Did you learn more about the Ravens or Trevor Lawrence and the Jags today?
I mean,
that's an interesting question.
Okay, to me, the easy answer is Trevor Lawrence because he played the best game of his NFL career. And if you're a Jags fan, you suddenly feel like legitimately good about yourself. That seems like new important information.
Yeah, I would say, I think we didn't learn anything about the Ravens that we didn't already know. Like it seems like this has been the Ravens for this season, and they get a lot of goodwill because they're the Ravens, and they have a track record that we trust and believe in, but they've been like struggling this whole season, and that's who they are. But yeah, you're right. Trevor Lawrence played incredibly well against the Ravens defense that can be confounding. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're atrocious, but he made big plays at important moments. And yeah, that's exciting and interesting. Even if he shows a glimpse of the number 1 overall pick, which you thought you were getting, that's more than he showed for much of last year. And this whole season, I feel like he's been showing like little bits, but this was like the first kind of game where it's like, all right, a real legitimate opponent. What you going to do when they come for you? Bad boys,
Win it.
Bad boys.
The fourth quarter, Bill. The fourth quarter feels like the story here, right, for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, it was, 15 of 19, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, the game winner, the 2-point conversion, which took all of the, analytics cojones that we normally No.
Pablo, no. It's not analytics when you do something that is not traditional and you succeed.
Oh, yeah.
That's aggressiveness. It's only analytics if you try some that nobody knows and it fails.
It fails, clearly.
Big difference, Pablo.
Touche.
Brandon Staley going for 2 and getting a touchdown. CBS crew did not mention analytics once in that conversation. They love the call, but it's not analytics.
Pretty impressive that he went for 2 and scored a touchdown. That's outstanding. Also, I was also equally impressed by the way that Trevor Lawrence like prevailed in that final drive after the first snap. Like I don't know, I pick out these sorts of things as like a significant step because in these games, something about like believing that you can do it and making those plays in those situations. And when you're a team like the Jags or going against a team like the Ravens and you start your game-winning drive with a sack fumble. Yeah, it's time for people to start heading for the exits. But he followed it with some darts, as they call them. The Ravens followed it with their signature fourth quarter defense. And
the Ravens followed it by being the dart board. And
yes. I'm sure there were people who got out of the pool in the Jaguar Stadium when that strip sack happened and said, we got to dry off, we got to get home and beat the traffic. And I don't blame them. Look at the Jaguars this year. Trevor Lawrence has been excellent on early downs, excellent in the first 3 quarters of games. Third and fourth down in the red zone in the fourth quarter, they've been a disaster. They've been blowing games, they've been blowing opportunities. It's been I hate this argument, but it's true for them, the we don't know how to win thing. And this felt like the first game this year where it felt like the Jaguars actually took a game that was in doubt, that honestly they kind of almost blew by giving the Ravens a short field for a touchdown, and then pulled it out and won the game. And I think it's, even if we don't see it on a week-to-week basis from Trevor Lawrence, at least we know that's in the arsenal, that he has that in him through all 4 quarters of a game, instead of just having 3 and maybe a quarters of it.
Gotta hire a win teacher. That's somebody to teach you
true.
how to win. You don't know how to win, you gotta get a win tutor.
Can you put up that card one more time, please?
Does it teach us how to win? If it doesn't teach us how to win, I don't want to see it.
Well, it's kind of the report card that demands the tutor, because according to ESPN Stats and Info, the Jaguars entered the day 0-183 when trailing by 7 or more in the final minute of regulation, which is an astounding number. 0-183.
So, I mean, I feel after Alabaster talks, I'll tell you what I feel.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I did want to bring up the Ravens side of this, because I think you're saying that we knew a lot about them before this week, but I think it's worth mentioning that this offense has been stuck in mud for a month and the defense is really bad. And this is someone who even a couple weeks ago we were thinking of as a potential stealth contender. So are we thinking of that team differently now, even if we knew this deep down?
I guess so, maybe. I mean, so they were still like winning, I guess, in these ugly games. So it's once they start losing in these ugly games, that tips us in the other direction. But this was never a team that I had a ton of confidence in. But I think what I said from the beginning was like they got this Ravens benefit of the doubt, that we extend to teams like them and the Patriots, teams that we trust their organizational like consistency and stability. If this were another team playing like this, I would have been out on them a long time ago. But I think part of it is like, I don't know, Lamar's great. Harbaugh knows what he's doing. They actually listen to their analytics department and then pretend like it's just because Lamar's excited and intense. And it's an organization and the defense is always good, even when they're bad. And now they're bad and not good. So yeah, you got to be out on them at this point, as far as a Super Bowl champion.
Nah, I'm not out on the Ravens yet. I think the defense is better than you're giving it credit for. Granted, they were bad in the fourth quarter here. I watched that Dolphins game too. They were bad in that Dolphins game too.
Yeah, that's aberration.
But that's 2 games.
Yeah.
I think the defense is okay. I'm more concerned about the offense because they left a bunch of plays on the field this week. Their biggest play of the game. Did you see their 60-plus yard play in this game?
Woo, it's beautiful.
Deshaun Jackson. That is what this offense has come to. Mark Andrews was back in this game. He was fine. But that's my concern, is that they don't feel like they have the receivers to compete.
Yeah, I mean, they don't. It's not they don't feel like it. They don't. I mean, Rashad Bateman's hurt. You got Hollywood traded away. Like, they don't have receivers. Mark Andrews is a talented tight end, but as you know, he's a tight end, and they don't go at. They don't go.
I saw Travis Kelce. I saw Travis Kelce running away from Jalen Ramsey in the Chiefs game today.
Oh, maybe you did, but it still does not change the fact that you need a deep threat. They don't got one. And I think part of the reason why they don't, it also feels like not only do they not have one, they don't like scheme plays for that. And I think part of that is about the defense. It feels like they don't want to take the risk to go 3 and out and put their defense on the field. And they don't take these shots downfield. So when you watch their plays, and Mark Andrews drops some passes, he's not like perfect, but they don't scheme up attempts to take shots down the field. They want to have like a methodical drive. And it's like, all right, but that ain't going to work. You guys just, I don't know.
You need both. You can't just have methodical drives. You need to hit some shots downfield just to take pressure off the run game, of course. More importantly, Domonique Foxworth, actual question for you.
Okay.
No exaggeration.
No.
How old do you think Deshaun Jackson can get to and still be able to make 50-yard plays in the NFL, even for one play a year, not regularly, just like one 50-yard play per season. He comes on a team, gets one big game. 45?
Nah, definitely older than that.
40.
I say 137.
137.
Joe Lewis's age and coming to America. 137 years old.
John Jackson, we'll have some circuitry.
That big play. That big play was, I mean, is Lamar making a big play? It was incredible, pinpoint pass, and it's just not in their offense, and that is like upsetting to me and frustrating and disappointing. And I don't know if they're gonna put it in, like, if you Ravens fans want a new offensive coordinator, and I'm not sure that it's all on the offensive coordinator, because it feels like they're also, like I mentioned, trying to protect the defense. It's like they are one of these teams that does try to have like a coherent scheme that is interconnected. And I do get the feeling, since they aren't dumb, like they know that you need to attack down the field, because they are not calling those types of plays very often. I get the feeling that they're like, we don't want to do that, because if we miss there and we're 3rd and 9, then we're done, and we're gonna have to punt it away and put our defense with no pass rushers.
That feels like that dynamic of, we don't want to be ambitious with our goals because we don't want to let our defense into a scenario that they can't handle, feels like a deeply toxic relationship.
Well, somehow Bill still thinks that it's healthier than the Bengals.
They made 5 trips to the red zone in this game. If they were just the Ravens, this great run blocking team in the red zone, they win this game. And we don't have those problems.
Skip the red zone. Take deep shots. Get
all
red zone. Red zone is fickle. It's up and down unless you're the Chiefs. Everybody
red
else,
for suckers.
Skip the red zone. Go to the end zone when you're outside the red zone. It gets a lot harder to score the closer you get. Fooling around with this red zone bullshit.
Well, we should talk about someone who skips both the red zone and the end zone quite frequently, and that's Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. What do you make of Kyler Murray's comment about the Cardinals scheme?
Call of Duty Kyler.
Oh, yeah. Can we pull up the quote just so we get it right?
It's very important.
No, it wasn't. That wasn't for Hop, actually. Schematic and everything we were kind of.
I like the jacket.
Yeah, it looks like the coolest kid in high school.
Yeah.
Could use a big hat though. To be honest with you.
Well, speaking of enormous amounts of cap, we should find out whether that was actually a truth or a lie.
Well done. I'm proud of you. I hate you, but I'm proud of you. The plays seem to me like, I guess I don't know exactly what he means by schematically bleeped, but to me it seemed like a reasonable short yardage play. It's like that, like quick screen or the receiver's block and they hit the tight end on the flat. It just seemed like the other team, they knew what the play was and they jumped it. So I guess by that, if he means he was, yes, they knew the play. They jumped it. It did not work. So yes, you were. But I don't know. It doesn't seem to me to be like some big, like, referendum on Cliff Kingsbury. One bad play or one play that didn't work out. It didn't seem like they were like running 2 different plays. They all ran the same play. This was a crap play for the situation. I'm sorry, Kyler. It didn't work.
But my issue is not that Kyler's upset about this play. It's that this has been the same stuff for 3 years now. Like, there's been no repeat. Like, consistently, Kyler has to make stuff happen on his own. Consistently, there's not easy answers for Kyler Murray in this offense. Consistently, he has to create beyond the confines, beyond the structure of the offense to make this offense work. Now, is this just a breaking point where it's just like I'm sick of it and I'm tired of not having answers in those situations and I want to just be able to run inside zone or run a zone read or have a pick play that actually works? Maybe that's the case, but I just find it really weird that of all the weeks where you watch that offense and it looks one track or simplistic or utterly dependent on Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins making magic happen, that this was the week that finally broke Kyler Murray.
Let me tell you, so this is a little behind the scenes thing, is I hadn't heard the quote before we got on here, and Alabaster told me the quote, and I was like, you're damn right, Kyler. Like, I was excited because it felt like he was coming out and saying the thing that we all know. And then we later on, Alabaster got some more details, and he was like, "Well, talking about this specific play." And then I watched the specific play. I was like, "Actually, this one instance, you're not right." So, like over the course of your entire career there, yeah, maybe you guys have been not maybe you have been schematically by Cliff Kingsbury this whole time. But in that one play, that one particular play, it didn't seem like the scheme was bad. Like that's a reasonable short yardage play. I don't know, particularly when you have a dual threat quarterback who's as dangerous a runner as you can have. You have to anticipate that you're going to get them loading the box. You're going to get man coverage on outside. You run a screen pick sort of play. Like, yeah, that's the right call for that situation. It didn't work, but it's fine. So Kyler's wrong right there. But if Kyler would say that play, man, but whole career schematically,
yeah,
I would have said, Kyler, you're damn right.
Well, and that's the interesting part about it to me is they can definitely get rid of the coach and the GM, but they have Kyler Murray on a 5-year, $230 million contract. Doesn't that put the Cardinals in a terrible spot because he is, I don't know, not been great?
Well, that's the complication, right? It's not obvious. I mean, well, look, arguably you always go with the scarce talent, but like in terms of like blame apportioning, as you've already established, it's not like Kyler is blameless here. And so firing. Okay, go ahead, Domonique. Tell
I'm
tell
sorry.
us who to blame.
I mean, no. We can spend time deciding who to blame, but for them, blame doesn't matter. Like you have one immovable object in your organization. You need to figure out how to make it work for them. Whether it's his fault or not, I don't give a shit. Like if you were concerned about him being the problem, then you should have thought about that before you signed him and put a stupid clause in the contract like that was gonna fix it. So now you made your decision. Now you need to figure out how to make things work around him, or how you can like manipulate him into changing his behavior.
Oh, so this is what I'm doing, Domonique. This is what I'm doing.
You got married to him.
No. You know what I do? You know what I do if I'm just playing now the role of Steve Keim? I am getting on the phone and I'm calling the world's best NFL divorce attorney, Bill Barnwell, and I'm saying, Bill Barnwell, how the hell do I get out of this? How do I get out of this?
Steve, this is so easy. You just have to incept Kyler Murray by going through Call of Duty. This is the easiest thing in the world. First, you have Kyler Murray play Call of Duty on a map that happens to involve a post-apocalyptic baseball field. And maybe you evoke some images of the past in Kyler Murray's head. When Kyler Murray is asleep, you got that Yankee candle that's blades of grass or freshly cut grass. Open it up, just light it up. Let the freshly cut grass waft into Kyler's nose while he's sleeping. Show him the new ballpark, the latest ballpark the A's are going to pretend to get before they cancel that ballpark. Get Kyler to Oakland, have him play for the A's. You're out of the contract. Everything is great.
Wow.
Multi-step process.
Genius. I like that. Or you could just quit, Steve.
Yeah.
You're getting paid till 2027? I'm not quitting. You can say I'm cursing me all you want during the post-game press conference.
Oh, well. All right. I think we earned our check. I don't care what Alabaster thinks.
That's right. Let's move on to the last one. This one comes from Thanksgiving because even though the Bills won, we've had a few weeks where Josh Allen with his injured elbow hasn't looked like early season Josh Allen. Do you still view the Bills as contenders if Josh Allen is playing the way he is now?
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Because in the course of this game where he misses short and intermediate throws, he throws the out of those deep balls. All of it. All of the in the gets thrown out of them passes, boy.
Damn.
As long as he can do that, it's all gone.
Damn.
As long as he can do that, it's nothing left. It's an empty football. It was a ball that he was holding. It had F's in it. It had S's in it. He threw it. It gets there. Nothing left but air. All the F's and the S's were thrown out by him. If he is capable of doing that, which he still is, then yes, they are contenders. Von Miller got hurt. Never mind. They don't have Von Miller. They can't win the championship.
That is a professional take, Smith, because he got like 60 seconds out of one sentence of analysis.
It was masterful. It was masterful.
Truly. Truly impressive. I mean, you're right,
hanging
though.
Hanging around sass.
You're right. You're right, though. I mean, you're not wrong. It's true. Like, it feels like he's like that thing you shoot when you start a game of pinball. Like, it might go all the way to the other end, and you might just nail it, or it might just kind of like go off the side, and you might be lost. Like, I don't think he knows what's coming out when he throws the football, which hopefully by the end of the year is fine. But I think it reduces their margin for error at the very least. Like, I feel like the game they played this year against the Chiefs, where it was basically him against Patrick Mahomes, and they were just throwing touchdowns every single drive in the fourth quarter. I don't think they can count on having that for an entire game. I think they have to have more from their defense. And like you said, Von Miller being hurt, maybe for the rest of the year, we don't know. That seems like it's a big problem for them.
It's enormous. I feel like he closed a bunch of games in the season already, where at the end of the game, he's getting massive pressures and getting sacks and doing things that are incredibly impactful. Which, and if he's not making a play, he's drawing the attention because everyone knows where Von Miller is in the fourth quarter. He is like a pitching closer, and they don't have a closer anymore. He's the Mariano Rivera of the Marriott.
Can I trample over Domonique's
Hove references?
Reference / baseball reference, which became less shocking as I realized it was really a Jay-Z reference.
Baseball?
I was briefly like, what is Domonique?
I mean, I know Mariano.
This is not the Domonique that I know. But
I know him.
But here's the question I have about Josh Allen is that we'd spent a long time talking about for the podcast audience. Yeah, Domonique is leaving all the in that ball that he's throwing. Full of them.
I can't throw them out.
Full of
There's more F's and S's in there.
He's actually inserting them. He's injecting them. We spent a lot of time doing the thing with Patrick Mahomes about 2 deep safeties and cover 2 and how they figured out Patrick Mahomes. We're not doing that, I've noticed, with Josh Allen. It's mostly that Josh Allen is sort of like unfiguring out himself. Is it really that way? I just want to be sure about how we're approaching this.
I took I disagree with one thing that Bill said is Josh doesn't know what he's going to do when he's throwing the ball, what's going to happen when he throws the ball. I think it's the exact opposite. He believes every time that he throws the ball, it's going to be a touchdown.
For sure.
Yeah, he knows it. He knows it because he be throwing them things like he's about to do a celebratory dance, and they just happen to get turned over a little more often than most quarterbacks. I mean, it doesn't feel like a regression to me. It feels like Josh was bad, then Josh was really good, and Josh is still really good. It's just part of the reason why we thought he was really, really good was we remember his playoff run last year. We don't remember his regular season last year. And we kind of forget throughout the course of this season, he was hitting dudes in the chest with balls, and they was dropping them. This is who he is. He's going to give them opportunities. But the good outweighs the bad. So, we remember last year he threw 6 touchdowns against the Pats, and then he went touchdown for touchdown with Patrick Mahomes, and probably should have won that game. But, Patrick Mahomes did something amazing with no time left.
Also,
and so we pretend like he is infallible. I'm guilty of that also. The same thing happened this year. So, he's gone on a stretch where his elbow got hurt, and the other team started catching him. I'm sorry. You want more analysis? I did it again. I just gave you 60 seconds on one thought.
That's not true. It's not true. That was a couple thoughts, and you're not wrong. But I do think that Josh Allen, by his nature, Josh Allen thinks the tiniest window on the field is Josh Allen's and Josh Allen's exclusively, and he can hit that tiny window from any spot on the field, and he can. But right now, it is fair to say that there are times where what he thinks he's putting out there when he goes to throw the ball is not actually what comes out when he actually releases the football. And we've seen, I think Romo's talked about it a bunch, how it's you'll get this shock in your arm. I've never thrown a football. I've never even thrown the ball forward before, so I can't say. But you'll get a shock feeling, and you won't get the same kind of zip on your passes. And I think that's what's happening here is that one every 10 or 15 passes, what Josh Allen is expecting turns out to be 20% of the power he has typically. I think that's what happened in that game against the Vikings when he threw the interception to Patrick Peterson to end that game. He had a receiver on that concept that would have worked. He just did not put the ball where he expected to put the football. So yes, he is going to have bad games. Last year he had the Jaguars game. We forget about the Falcons game where he was a mess at home. It happens. They're going to be fine. But I do think that I'm more concerned about the defense right now than I am about Josh Allen. See?
Good job. Great take.
We got 2 takesmiths here now.
I know. Well, I got a surprise for you guys.
What is it?
I now have a fresh shape up. When we come back, I would have had some new growth in between. It's going to be amazing. Stay tuned for that. Spencer, me, hair, football, college style, amateurs. Bye, Bill.
I'm also there. Bye.
Whatever.
So one of us just said Ohio, and I'm not going to tell you which one of us did it, but maybe you'll find out as we welcome Spencer Hall in for an extended. He's pointing to himself for the podcast audience. Spoiler alert, it was Spencer. Hello, Spencer. I feel like we should talk about the thing that made lots of people actually say, Domonique, to the great state of the Ohio State University.
Yeah, they got housed. They got okey-doked. They got hammered, bamboozled, destroyed, leveled, eliminated, embarrassed.
Run amok.
Yeah.
In their own home.
Yeah. Shamed. Run
and
off.
Got a flag planted in the center of the field. Like the disrespect continued from the beginning of the game to the end. And it was in a way that you did not anticipate. I mean, it was a fireworks show from the opening kickoff, which was fun. It's not what I expected. If you told me Michigan was going to win, I would have bought it. I mean, it's unlikely because it was their first, they won. I know it was their first time back-to-back wins in probably 2 decades or something. They've been getting dominated. They got a win last year. And you just knew that Ohio State was going to come out with a point to prove. Coming off a tough game against the Maryland Terrapins, they had a point to prove. They came out and they couldn't stop them from throwing the football and running.
They were
the football
22 points to prove short, in fact, losing 45-23.
Even better, after getting run over last year, they wanted to stop the run. They had to get physical and be macho, even if they are a passing team. Well, a passing team that can score, 50 points. They do it all the time. They just don't do it against Michigan because Michigan sees the initiative by throwing over their heads. Sometimes football's real easy. You're going that way and you're trying to stop the run. We'll throw the ball this way, that's all they did all through the first half. And then in the second half, when they said, Michigan can pass, guess what Michigan started to do? They started to run. They didn't have any answers. And worse yet, I mean, some credit is due to Michigan's defense here, but Ohio State scored 3 points in the second half. Three. With a zillion first-round NFL draft picks,
including the quarterback.
Including the quarterback
should be the first-round pick at some point. He's going to be considered someone's savior of their team, and he could not save them in this game. So Ohio State offense, it's weird to me because it gets criticized and championed around draft time. And maybe it's just with certain players, but sometimes I feel like we hear this is not an offense that tells you much about a quarterback when it gets into how he's going to perform in the NFL, because this offense is kind of simple, and there's always surrounded by a ton of talent, but you don't always hear those same things around quarterbacks coming out of LSU. I'm not sure what it is about. Maybe it's just because the talent differential is such that the speed of the SEC is not does not exist outside of Ohio State and the Big Ten. So the assumption is that it's just easier there, but it doesn't seem to work where they need it to work, at least as of late, or in big time playoff games, not recently. So I'm not sure what the answer is, because I know Michigan doesn't have the athletes to keep up with those receivers, from the top of the roster to the bottom of the roster.
Evidently, Domonique, they do. I don't know. It happened yesterday.
Fair.
You might want to figure out how that happens.
Wrong.
Well, can we frame this though? Because Domonique, I came into this game despite Michigan beating Ohio State and people crying on the field in Ann Arbor last year. I came into this with roughly that perspective that Ohio State is just a better program, like top to bottom, and that the history of this rivalry of the game, Spencer, is such that it's so deeply lopsided that this felt like so shocking that it wasn't shocking anymore. It's a thing of like, oh, wait a minute, my priors have been so refuted that now I must pretend I never had them anymore. Like, what happened here, like from the big picture, like rivalry aspect of like our expectations?
I think what happened rivalry-wise is that there is a reversal that's happened, and this is one of those matchups where, despite everything that you see on the sheet before the game, everything that you see with your recruiting rankings, everything that you see in terms of what these two teams look like next to each other. I'm not joking. Last year when they came out of the tunnel, the first thing I thought was, oh my God, Ohio State's so big. There's absolutely no way these guys were going to compete. And they got rolled. And it's very hard to not start thinking the same thing when you watch Ohio State cut through the rest of their schedule like this. And yet you've got this dynamic where, and just to put it bluntly, one team looks a lot tougher than the other. And that's a brutal assessment. But when it comes down to the second half in both games,
Right.
they got run over and beat at the point of attack by a team that I know is not as talented. And Domonique can speak this to a lot better than I can, since he's a former player. But like, is that a psychological difference? Is that a matter of strategy of getting people in the right leverages?
I have the same question. I have the same question, Spencer. Domonique, the second half, it felt like all the pejoratives you want to throw at Ohio State. You could. They were chanting, "We want Urban," after the game because of the second half. So what is actually happening?
I mean, I guess they need Urban to come and kick some kickers, because it's not like Urban Meyer's offense was like a whole bunch more physical than Ryan Day's offense is now. Like, they were spread out too. And like Urban Meyer's offense, oh, give it to me. What we got? We got some important.
Oh, yeah. Ryan Day is 45-5 for the record as Ohio State's head coach, and that is the man who, got Fire Ryan Day trending, on Twitter on Saturday.
And we saw the card before. He's 2-1 against Jim Harbaugh in the Michigan Wolverines, whereas Urban Meyer was like 4-0 against Jim Harbaugh in the Michigan Wolverines. You see how I did that?
Yep.
See that quick flip I did?
That was nice.
Professionalism.
Nimble, mentally nimble, just like Ohio State is not. So I don't know. I wish so, because I'm not like a college football analyst. Like, I know what's happening generally, and I parachute in for big games. I watch these big games, and what we hear all the time is about Ohio State. And so I look back at Michigan, because I don't think of Michigan as like just buzzsawing through their schedule the way that I think of Ohio State. And Michigan has some impressive, like, dominating wins so far this season. But you come into the game and, like, I know guys' names on Ohio State's team, which is not good analysis. But, like, I know their names because I know their daddy's names in some cases. Like, these are good football players that I know are great and are going to have great careers on Sunday in the NFL. That's not what you see on the other side. So I'm tempted to fall into the trap, and maybe it's not a trap, maybe it's the truth. I'm just saying, like, no, they're just tougher, because last year's game, it certainly felt like they were winning up front, despite the fact that Ohio State has people who I'm not sure are actually genetically people. They might actually be like legitimate giants. I don't know if you can test for that or not, but I would like to. Because I was on the sideline of the Maryland game, and I saw
pituitary
that offensive line,
issues.
and I was
Domonique
like,
suspects glandular.
No, they don't look normal. Like they look like absolute freaks. And yet, if I had a guess, it's this: that there are teams that practice for this. There are teams that 100% make a habit of playing this kind of game. And if you are one of those teams and you play a team that does not make that kind of habit, things can get rough for you real fast. Everybody's going to find this out when they play Georgia in the playoff. Okay.
This is a real anti-analytics show today, where it's like, get out of here with your most efficient way to score. We tougher than you.
Well,
also,
yes.
they
Who
did
wants
throw
it
over the
more?
top. They did also throw it over the top a lot more than them too. To be fair.
Yeah. And this is one of those things, like, just to like keep the analytics in here. If you've got more experience, more snaps, all right, doing that kind of like paleo Cro-Magnon drive blocking, pulling, getting hit in the face over and over again by a pulling guard, right? If you still run all of the 5 holy of holy plays, like from, the 1975 NFL run scheme, right? Like that's, if you run all of that and you don't just do inside and outside zone, that's a habit. You get serious time in the cockpit, in the machine, and it adds up. And I do think there's something to that. Styles make fights. Like, that's when you say, if somebody came to me after this and said, I still think Ohio State's the best team, I'm not going to argue, or better team, I wouldn't argue with them based on, if you said, okay, absolute value. Yeah, because I think against most teams, in most matchups, they will be the best team. This is just a bad matchup between the styles of football.
I know we're supposed to choose whether we zoom in or zoom out, but I want to do both. I feel like we did some good in zooming. Like, Pablo, is that where you're going? Is it zoom out time to see how this impacts everything?
Well, yeah, because I just wanted to acknowledge before we sort of take the microscope and turn it into a telescope, I guess. I wanted to find out, like, okay, so like the habits, the run game, right? Like, it's worth noting. Blake Corum is the Heisman candidate that Michigan has. That dude didn't do jack in this game.
No, he's
right?
injured.
A guy.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Because he has this knee injury and because he had to leave the game. And so in came Donovan Edwards, who ran for, as we said, like 200, whatever it is, 1,000,000 yards, right? And by the way, J.J. McCarthy, the Michigan quarterback, he was throwing those bombs that I didn't realize. All these 70-yard plays. Michigan just manufactured 70-yard plays over and over again. I didn't know that guy could do that thing either, Spencer. And so when we zoom out here, yeah, like what are we really looking at?
Well, you're looking at a team that threw 3 touchdowns for only the 3rd time this season. The other 2 teams that they did that against were Hawaii and Indiana. So congratulations. There's now a data set of Hawaii, Indiana, and Ohio State. Those are the 3 teams that allowed 3 passing TDs to the Michigan Wolverines. When you zoom out, like, what does this mean for the rivalry? Well, 1, it's very much alive between the 2 schools. 2, it's now on Michigan to capitalize, which, as we all know, if you give somebody a lead in an intense rivalry, they might take it for 5 to 10 years. These things run in long streaks. One long streak, the last bad one for the Buckeyes. Ryan Day has gone 45-5 and lost 1 game this year. I remind everybody, John Cooper, all right, coach in the 90s for Ohio State, went 2-10-1 against Michigan. If you think they're mad now, I want you to just travel back in time and imagine the simmering cauldron of rage that was an Ohio State fan base that went 2-10-1 against Michigan. It's unreal, the impatience and how much this means identity-wise to both programs. You have to understand, CJ Stroud before the game said, yeah, this is the game that, this is our season. This is what defines us, right? Then after the game said, this is not what defines us as a team. One game does not define us as a team. One of those statements is true. It's not the one they said after the game, right? Like, Michigan could go into the playoff and face Georgia. If they go into the playoff and they face Georgia, they're going to get destroyed just like they did last year, because Georgia has 300-pound men who can run a shuttle run faster than some 140-pound men.
And they play that style that it seems Ohio State is not accustomed to. They play that style of dog who got more dog football than
mash your face. They play some mash your face football.
I'm excited. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. What are you excited about?
No, the 3
smashing. I think.
Yeah, that, and also the 3 touchdown club, because that overlapped perfectly with my potential spring break locations. So we're gonna put the names in a hat and shake them up and draw one out and see where we end up. Kids can't wait.
I'm really pulling for
Bloomington.
Indiana for you.
Bloomington, baby.
Mm-hmm. Bloomington in
the Hawaii,
spring.
The Hawaii of the Midwest.
Oh,
yeah,
my God.
One of those things. Savings. That's what it is. Hawaii, that's expensive. But yeah, this is to me like the rivalry has never been like dimmed in terms of intensity. We're just entering a new phase where Michigan might get a long run because that's how rivalries work.
Can I ask a question?
No, Harbaugh is not going to coach, Domonique. Just quickly, Harbaugh is going to coach forever at this rate after almost getting fired because he was the guy suffering in the way that coach was suffering for Ohio State that you referenced.
What would have to happen for Michigan to win the national championship? Please concoct a scenario for me. I feel bad because we should be moving on to another topic, and this might take
I'm curious.
some, like, I don't know, some Neil deGrasse Tyson-esque levels of intelligence to create a serendipitous path where Jim Harbaugh is standing at the end in his khakis holding up a trophy. Very sweaty, smelly-looking Harbaugh. Give it to me.
Okay, I can go ahead and concoct something like this.
Pandemics, no pandemics, please.
No,
do not have a pandemic, because that was the first that came to my mind. Is a lot of people gonna have to get sick.
Oh, and it's gonna be Jim unless we're gonna do the Freaky Friday.
What did I say? I said John.
Yeah, but maybe that's part of it. Maybe we substitute one
he
for
is
the
a better
other.
coach.
Maybe that helps.
He is a better coach.
So I'm going to go ahead and transfer us. We're going to go ahead and transition to playoff talk. All right, because I'm just that professional. The way that we can get a favorable run into the playoff for Michigan is this. If everyone wins in their title game, okay, if Michigan wins against Purdue, if TCU wins against Kansas State, I believe, and if USC wins against Utah, then those are all tall orders, of course. Respect to them. But if they all win out and Georgia somehow loses a game as a favorite to LSU, something that has happened before against LSU in the SEC championship game, I believe it's back in 2001, Matt Mock and the relatively unlauded LSU Tigers come out and upset a favored Tennessee team to win an SEC title. If something like that happens, okay, and you get a Georgia loss, then the three locks are Michigan, TCU, and USC. In this, on the outside, looking in would be Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. Georgia would be the likely pick there for me, just based on everything plus defending title status. That shouldn't be an official part of the calculations, but these are people, and rankings are buoyant. They float. People don't like to take teams down any further than they have to, and they don't want to put Ohio State in because we've already seen that game. We don't want to set up a rematch with Michigan and Ohio State unless we absolutely have to. So I think that's when the human factors come in. We put Georgia, the defending champions, back in there, and then Georgia in the first round somehow ends up facing, if they can face USC. If Georgia can face USC to me has the most potential for an outstanding quarterback in Caleb Williams to get loose,
we got to
score points, and turn it into a shootout. That to me, USC has no defense, but occasionally Georgia will just sputter and not score for a while, and that's really all Oklahoma needs to take advantage of that. Also, it's a nice, or I said Oklahoma. Hi, Lincoln. Because I was thinking about, we've seen this matchup already, just with different laundry, because we saw Oklahoma UGA in the Rose Bowl, and which was a thrilling game, and one that I think would probably go a different way because of the presence of Caleb Williams. So if that happens, then you get something like a USC Michigan final, right, for the playoff. That to me is a favorable matchup for Michigan because they will just suck the game down, just drag it down to a level that USC is not comfortable playing at. So that to me is how I can get a Michigan national championship. That's fan fiction at this point, but you asked for it.
Thank you. My brain hurts.
It's fan fiction, and it has a bunch of complex dentistry sort of that you just did on this field, which is fitting because I just looked up what Matt Mock is doing now.
Thank you.
He's a dentist.
I knew you were going
in Aurora, Colorado. You knew that?
Yes.
How did you? Of course, knows that.
Of course, he
knows that.
Yeah. Second LSU great to go into the field of teeth for cash. That'd be Billy Cannon being the other one.
That's how I know that, Pablo. You're here for the entertainment, not the sports, because you didn't take the Caleb Williams segue. You took the Matt Mock dental segue. What are you doing here? You stepped right over this quality Caleb
Give us the segue, Domonique. Give us the segue that we deserve.
Caleb Williams should have gone to Maryland because he's from D.C.
Oh, that must hurt.
I mean, it doesn't anymore. It used to a long time ago.
Really? It didn't hurt? Because watching him on
No.
This weekend, all I could think of was how fun he must be to control in a video game.
Ever since I've been paying attention to local sports, one out of every 10 future great athletes in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area, they go somewhere else. So I'm used to it. It doesn't hurt anymore. My son and I were watching this game,
Kevin Durant,
and we're rooting for him. We're like, yeah, he's from the area. Did he leave us? Did he spurn us 2 times? Yes. He's a double spurner. He double spurned us, but we still love him.
My theory is always this. My theory is always somebody gets out to USC and they experience life without humidity. and then they won't go back at gunpoint. You can't get you don't want that kind of life.
I don't know Caleb Williams, but I can speak as someone who was once a 18 to 22-year-old man. It ain't the humidity when I get out to Southern California that is going to keep me from leaving. Step foot off that plane, and then you're going to drop me back in College Park? I'm good. Go Terps.
For the record, Domonique, the swamp ass is not bothersome to the Big Ten.
I don't care.
Yeah,
For me, Maryland will always be ACC. You're just crashing on the Big Ten's couch for like 50 years until you eventually go back to the ACC.
Yeah, it was really upsetting when we had rivalry weekend and we couldn't play Virginia. We played Rutgers. All right, let's talk about something that makes me happier.
That's so funny.
We smacked them, by the way, but
funny.
whatever, because we're really good at football.
Yeah.
All right, Caleb Williams, you want to zoom in on Caleb or zoom out on Lincoln Riley? What are you thinking?
We got to go Caleb Williams here to start, Spencer. I will admit, this was the first game in full of Caleb Williams that I watched all season. And has he been like this the whole time? Holy shit.
Yeah, this is kind of like taking somebody to a Caleb Williams game is kind of like taking them to going back in time and going to the Big Bang, and you're like, no, just wait.
It's going to be cool, I promise.
It's going to be cool. When's it happening? Any second now. Yeah.
And then it happened over and over and over again, where he's spinning out of tackles.
Yards.
Yeah, and everything. It's every 10 minutes, Herbie's like Mahomesian, and you're kind of like, yeah. The first time you're like, what? Chill out. And then after he does it 5 more times, you're like, yeah. I hope they're paying him a lot. I don't know what his NIL money is, but Lincoln Riley needs to snap him off a little bit of that contract.
A dude who scrambles like Kyler Murray, but is 6'1". A guy who can do that, but also has the arm of somebody like a Trevor Lawrence or a Josh Allen. These are people. Caleb Williams is a monster, an absolute monster. And even if the play doesn't work, right? We could talk about how fast Lincoln Riley turned this program around, but a lot of that is this. If I put a quarterback out there who's capable of soldering together whatever garbage I put on the whiteboard, not calling Lincoln Riley's offense garbage. I'm just saying, you could probably put me there and Caleb would be like, I got it.
Yeah, the thing was that it was not Lincoln Riley. I did not see very many plays where Caleb hit that back foot. And maybe it's because Caleb is not reading and they're open people or whatever. Or maybe it's because he just wants to get to this out of structure stuff. But at no point was I like, man, this guy is well coached. They sure are setting him up to succeed. He's riding on the backs of these wide receivers. The whole time I was like, damn, Caleb, you working awfully hard for all these points.
That's correct. And when you get a good quarterback, hey man, that's spackle. I can make it look like I can flip this whole house in a single season. If you just give me one Caleb Williams and a little bit of shiplap, that's what I can do.
It's not the whole house; it's the whole neighborhood. They built one nice house, and then this whole got gentrified. Caleb gentrified the out of all of USC.
Caleb Williams, the human Whole Foods, gentrifying the neighborhood.
Well,
showed up within minutes.
That's an accurate description because he's about to be mighty expensive, mighty spendy.
Oh man,
absolutely.
Minus the negative,
by the way.
Minus the negative connotation. Yeah, I don't want to insult Caleb. He seems like a nice guy.
So no negative connotation, but yes, negative in terms of minus 3,000 odds to win the Heisman at this point. Max Duggan is plus 3,000. CJ Stroud, who we bet you before, now plus 4,000.
So I've told you before about how, I think we might have talked about this before, how my son mimics all of the celebrations that he sees on TV as he's playing in his flag football league.
Yeah, he Tyreek Hilled someone for some listeners who maybe missed
someone
episode.
He does that at least 3 times a week, but the games, fortunately the season's over, and Caleb hit the Heisman on the sideline, and me and my son was watching the game. He stood up on the couch and started practicing.
Yep. Like, Also, great teams taunt. So
So just last thing on Caleb Williams then. So I was playing off the Mahomes thing, and I was like, wait a minute, because I'm like watching something that is fun in a special way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so wait, is this the thing where Patrick Mahomes is Steph Curry, now has his own Trae Young.
Yeah.
Is that what we have now? Is this what Caleb Williams is, or is that an insult to call him Trae Young?
So yeah, I think it's an insult to call him Trae Young. Well, no, I mean Trae Young had a good run, or has good runs. I don't know. Neither here nor there. But to your grander point, yes, it is. Patrick Mahomes is the exact same in that they're going to be a bunch of kids trying to do this and turning the ball over all over the place, and a couple of kids are going to be really good, but not quite as good as Steph Curry. So yeah, we're headed in that direction. We see it every weekend. Some of them kids are actually in the NFL right now doing their worst Patrick Mahomes impersonation and turning that thing over regularly. And yes, Caleb Williams might be one of the guys who can like reasonably copy that if he ends up in the right situation.
Also, you want to talk about all I ask from you in rivalry week is that you live up to the script, that you willingly participate in this holiday. And Caleb Williams been painting his fingernails all year. What did he have across his nails? Notre Dame. He had ND across there. Which I just want to say, in rivalry week, it's all kosher. It's all kosher, right? Like Florida, my team, we lost because we're not good, and we lost Florida State. And let me tell you, the entire FSU section, the student section, is sitting there screaming. Hi, podcast audience. They're just screaming, the Gators. Yes. That's what I want. Don't try out class. Don't do that. This is the time. This is the time when you get to take that hat off. Don't be classy. Let it hang.
We're on our way, guys.
Oh, that's it. That's how we're.
That's it. We're all getting profanities painted on our nails.
I'm very proud of my Terps. They're headed in the right direction. Mike Locksley is the guy. He's getting much better recruits than we've had since, I don't know, me. And they're going to be great.
Hey, you know what?
What?
You know who they almost beat? Ohio State.